The first principle is this: organizations are perfectly designed to get the results they get. Now let's consider that. Those are words that are strung together, but they have phenomenal meaning. Organizations are perfectly designed to get the results they get. So if your organization is dysfunctional, chaotic, not producing, the organization is not properly designed. It's like if you want to build chairs and at the end of the day your company ends up with tables, then the organization structure is flawed. So here's some of the principles and how you can create a better organization, a better performing organization, more responsive organization. And what I want to share with you today is to confirm with you, to validate with you the value of strategic thinking and proper organization development. So the first thing you must do, and probably the most difficult of all, is being able to articulate a vision. What do you want to accomplish? What's your product? What's your goal? Where do you want to be? What do you want to look like in years from now? And actually, it's about 70% of the work. Because if you can get that vision, that product down to 10 words or less that people can remember, then it helps align the entire organization. You're successful. If it can't pass the whisper test, and the whisper test is, you know, when you're in second grade, the teacher says something to the first student who whispers to the next one and to the next one, and by the time it gets to the end of the class, is it anything like it began? If your vision and product is not the same at the beginning, that whispering to the end, it's too convoluted. It can't be remembered. It will not align the organization. And as Cherokee Nation Principal Chief, it took me 2 years to figure out what the vision of the Cherokee Nation was. And one day the epiphany came. The value of the Cherokee Nation was to become a happy and healthy people. A happy and healthy people. So thereafter, everything we did, from law enforcement to business to education to social services, was for one purpose and one purpose only: to help us become a happy and healthy person. So once that's accomplished, you can go to the next stage. Articulate principles. Help your people understand the guiding principles to make a decision, because they'll get in tough times. They'll come in dilemmas and questions, and they won't know what to use to help them make their decisions. So if those 5 or 7 guiding principles are embedded in your organization's culture, then they can make that decision based upon good data, and they have the confidence it'll be accepted and get the job done. It'll align with the vision. For us, it was happy and healthy people. The next one is leadership. And the principle is very simple and universal. You lead people, you manage property. I had 22 direct reports. And folks would say, how can you manage, how can you control 22 people with diverse disciplines from environmental protection to healthcare to social services to education to law enforcement? How do you control all those folks? And of course the answer is, you don't. You hire them to do a job. You get them the resources. You give them the vision. And then you referee once in a while. Because if you have to control them, you're not doing your job or they're not doing theirs. You empower those people. You give them the resources to accomplish the mission, accomplish the product, to accomplish the vision. And leadership is fun. For example, a great lesson I learned in 1970, I had to relearn it later as principal chief. I learned at the University of Tennessee. I was a freshman walking down Neyland Stadium Drive, and I was talking to some guy I didn't really know, and we walked past the swimming natatorium. And I said, well, what's that? And he said, well, a brand new swimming natatorium. And as a 20-year-old student, I thought, well, that's good. He said, yep, and they're nationally ranked. I said, wow, that's pretty impressive. And you know, the coach had never coached swimming. Well, now he's got my attention. Brand new building, nationally ranked, a coach had never coached swimming. He said, yeah, he had a very simple philosophy. He said, if you want to have a football team, you get some horses. If you want a swimming team, you get some fishes. And so that became my philosophy, horses and fishes. You develop and recruit the leadership to get the job done. And what this coach was proficient at was recruiting the assistant coaches who knew the techniques and how to teach them, and recruiting the student athletes whose potential was there. So our job as leaders is horses and fishes. The old adage that's very popular but very true is that organizations take on the character of their leader. So if your organization or parts of it are toxic and counterproductive, you really have to look at yourself. If you want an organization that's vibrant, creative, dynamic, then the leader at the top must provide those things by example. Once you have the vision articulated, the principles outlined, you've recruited leadership, providing the resources, the guidance, then there must be a set of metrics. The old adage is true again. What you measure gets done. And when you give those measurements to your staff, they have the comfort and discipline and the expectations to get them done, which will align with the organization. It's very commonsensical. Me and an organization want to know what their expectations are. And those are provided by metrics or measurements that they can see that they're doing the job you want them to do. In providing leadership to staff and to community members or to any of your constituency, the greatest reward is to elicit discretionary effort, an engagement level where people want to give more than the minimum that's required of them. And you can only do that by giving them the opportunity to excel and the expectations to excel and the reward of fulfillment when they've accomplished those expectations. To encourage them to make mistakes and to encourage them to learn from those mistakes. In essence, to proceed undaunted toward that ultimate vision or goal. What I would like to do to close with is the admonition is to be always a student, always to learn, to challenge, to create. And when I go to high schools, I talk to students and I ask them, do you know the difference between a genius and a doofus? And they all look at me sort of bizarre. Because you know who Alfred E. Newman are? They looked at me strange again. Well, let me share with you. A genius is someone who knows so much they know they don't know everything. But they know how to ask the questions, what don't I know that I need to know to make a good decision? What don't I know that I need to know to make a good decision? And there's a great humility in being a genius. He understands he doesn't know everything. He understands he must find something else out. He must understand the process to find out what he doesn't know. Now, the opposite of a genius is a doofus. And that is somebody who thinks they know everything when in reality they know very little. And in politics today, I think you can find a wealth of doofuses. So what do you want to be, a genius or a doofus? In our own personal lives, in our business, and our community lives, we want all of those around us to be continually asking, what don't I know that I need to know to make a better decision? To have the humility to ask that question rather than the arrogance of, I know everything. So what I want to do is thank you for your attendance and the opportunity to appear in front of you. And good afternoon. So, thank you very much.